Above average rainfall across large parts of South Africa means that many landscapes have changed. In some areas, crops are literally drowning in swamps, and for the first time in years, the Karoo is lush, almost unrecognizable. When we've come to this part of the world as Carte Blanche, the Free State and the Northern Cape, we've always brought you stories about the drought, but this time, it's a completely different story. We're on our way to the Hopetown district on the edge of the Great Karoo. Locust hunting. They manufacture potholes in Koffiefontein. For almost 2 years, the area has been plagued by massive swarms of brown locusts. And everyone you meet along the way has photos to share and a story to tell.
So ver as ek kyk.
Het jy al 'n sprinkaan in jou bed gekry?
Ja, mevrou. As ek dan lê, krap hy my hier.
Since the start of the summer, farmers report that locust numbers have grown exponentially, and they eat everything in sight as they move through the veld.
Dis rooi bruin van die massas.
There are plenty of photos and videos on social media, but we want to see the locusts ourselves, and we're told this area, just about 20 kilometers from the Orange River, is brimming with locusts. There's just one little problem: rain. Finding the locusts is one thing, but getting to them is a whole other story. These unrelenting rains have made the roads muddy and they are all flooded. And it's not just because we city slickers, the farmers themselves are finding these roads difficult to navigate.
Ons het tussen 200 en 300 mm reënval al gehad van November maand waar ons gemiddelde reënval is 400 mm in 'n jaar.
Here, they've had more than half their annual rainfall in a matter of months, and their official raining season is yet to come. Sheep farmer 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗶 was all set to take us to the locusts, but with all the mud and slippery roads, the trip is impossible today. And although we're disappointed, I get the idea that Rian is a bit relieved.
Ek is nou al gatvol vir 'n sprinkaan. Jy ry dalk by hulle verby of jy sien dalk op die TV 'n swerm sprinkaane dan het jy so 'n idee, maar hierdie goed as hulle gaan slaap in die aand, dan lê hulle baie keer op 'n 400-500 hektaar. As jy stop, dat die bakkie se geluid afgaan, die enjin, dan hoor jy tjit soos hulle eet.
Rian says this is the biggest outbreak of Karoo brown locust he's seen in his 57 years on the farm.
Dit is maar net die toestande en die omstandighede wat 100% is vir hulle om uit te broei. En meer as een generasie in 'n seisoen.
The Northern Cape has always had outbreaks of locusts. It's a natural occurrence. If we get good summer rains, then we get outbreaks of locusts.
𝗀𝗵𝗀𝗆, Agri-SA's chairman of the Natural Resources Centre of Excellence, farms in the Williston district. He drove out to meet us in 𝗀𝗲𝗯𝗿. Can you give us like a visual understanding of where and how much these locusts are?
Try, put yourself in the situation and try and imagine what it's like in swarms that are kilometers wide and kilometers long. And overhead, the sun darkens. It's like an eclipse of the sun.
The brown locust is native to the Karoo and Southern Namibia and is actually a fascinating insect.
Hierdie is die doodgewone groen-bruin veldsprinkaan wat as hulle mekaar te dikwels ontmoet as klein hoppertjies, dan slaan hulle oor na 'n ander genetika en dan lees hulle 'n ander boek as dit ware, né?
Veteran entomologist Professor 𝗀𝗃𝗁𝗏 spent many years documenting the brown locusts in the Karoo. He says it was his predecessor at the University of Pretoria, J.C. Fora, who uncovered some of the mysteries of the locusts in the 1920s.
Tot daar was hulle in al die museums as twee genera, verskillende, nie net spesies nie, verskillende genera geklassifiseer, né? Die enkelfase en die swermfase.
And even though they are the same species, they don't just behave differently, they also look very different.
Dis die alleenloperfase, bleek en dan word hy groen. En dis die swermfase, rooi en dan word hy swart en rooi, baie opvallende kleure, né?
And they are very well adapted to the dry climate, with eggs lying dormant in the soil for years, waiting for rains like this. But despite being a natural phenomenon, millions of hungry grasshoppers munching their way through the Karoo is not ideal for the farmers.
In a perfect world, we would like nature to take its course. But human beings, we've already altered nature and the processes in nature to such an extent that for our survival, we've got to manage nature.
For the farmers, controlling the locusts is about much more than just protecting grazing for their livestock.
Hulle vreet 'n middeland op, hulle vreet 'n sojaboonland op en dan daai stapel is daarmee heen.
Can you imagine what would happen if all these swarms goes into your crop growing areas in the Free State? Then it's going to be a real disaster.
So how does it work when we're trying to control these locusts? Could you explain that?
Government provides the pesticide, the training for the people to control the locusts and the equipment. Then they appoint the people out of the local communities.
The Northern Cape is divided into 52 agricultural districts, and a district locust officer is appointed for each region. 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀 looks after the Hopetown district, where he has 10 teams working under him, spraying swarms almost 7 days a week.
Die vleiers spuit ons net in die nag, want hulle vlieg deur die dag en hulle vlieg party aande nou tot 8 uur in die aand vlieg hulle nog.
The adult locusts can travel over 60 kilometers a day, but when it gets dark, they huddle together. And that's when the teams move in with the pesticide.
Soos wat hulle nou is 'n mens my elke aand besig, elke oggend vroegoggend besig met hulle. So hulle vat maar 'n bietjie van jou tyd. Maar wat dit is maar een van die opofferings wat 'n mens maak as jy 'n veeboer is en jy wil jou veld oppas.
The amount of pesticide they use is staggering. Rian says he uses about 10 to 12 200-litre drums of chemicals per week. The pesticides are distributed from 2 depots in the Northern Cape, one in Upington and the other one here in 𝗀𝗯𝗏. So then when we're talking about the actual pesticide, is it environmentally friendly? I mean, we're talking about hundreds of litres being sprayed across the veld. Is it going to do any lasting damage or no?
No, in previous years, when we still worked with organophosphates and those poisons, that was really harmful to the environment. But it's new pesticides, it's registered only for locusts. It's very species specific, it does no further harm to the environment.
It's hard to imagine that right now there are millions of locusts swarming this part of the country. We've been here for 2 days and have traveled 1,000 kilometers and have not spotted a single one yet. And that is why they're so difficult to control. And with the veld looking this lush, there could be a swarm just on the other side of this pond and no one would notice.
Baie boere is nie op die plase self nie. Daar's niemand op die plase nie. 90% van die springkanne word gerapporteer word is op 'n pad. So die ouens ry oor die springkanne en dan sien hulle toevallig.
Our locust hunting trip is fast coming to an end, but in a last-ditch attempt to see the hoppers, we head to 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀, where some locusts were spotted earlier today. But as luck would have it, we drive into a massive swarm on the road. Hard to see, but we've got locusts. But catching them is no easy task. Out of my hand! Luckily, we were forward-thinking. Guys, I don't know, I've been on a hunt for many things in my life, but I feel like I've won the jackpot by finding these little locusts. We've been looking for you for so long. We've been looking for you. These are tiny, and we were just driving on the side of the road, and finally we saw millions of them. They look like dust. In 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘀, local district locust officer 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 takes us to another swarm of newly hatched hoppers.
Kyk hoe kom hulle aan hier so in die pad.
We tell Johannes about the swarm we just encountered outside the town. If the rain stays away, he'll go look for them once the sun sets.
Hier is duidelike krisis aan die kom want hulle broei uit soos julle nou hier kan sien.
Would you choose locusts over the drought?
I will always choose locusts over the drought. Because to have locusts, you have to have some rain. And the locust is not going to eat up all the grazing.
Ons sal liewerste maar met hulle beklei voordat ons weer 'n droogte vat.
The sun sets as we head back to Johannesburg, past the maize growing in dams of water. And one cannot help but wonder to what extent all this is because of our mistreatment of nature.